Okay, let's talk about one of the most, well, let's just say surprising buildings you'll find anywhere in Britain. It's a seaside palace that genuinely looks like it was magically picked up from India and just dropped onto the English coast. We're going to dive into the absolutely wild story of Brighton's Royal Pavilion.
I mean, just take a look at it. This is the Royal Pavilion. You've got these incredible domes, the minarets, all that intricate lattice work. It is a full-blown Oriental fantasy. This was a true pleasure palace, built for a prince who really, really loved to party. And today, it's more than just a building. It's an icon that perfectly captures the vibrant, eccentric, and slightly bonkers character of Brighton itself.
Yeah, you heard that right. This jaw-dropping, opulent palace, this ultimate symbol of royal extravagance, actually started its life as something far, far more ordinary. You see, this whole story is about transformation, and it all begins with a young prince just looking for a little seaside getaway.
So how in the world do you get from a simple farmhouse to, well, that? The story kicks off in the late 18th century with a prince who needed a break and a town that was just becoming the place to be. So, picture it, 1783. Brighton, or Brighthelmstone as it was known then, was this small fishing village that was suddenly becoming super trendy. It was the spot for London's high society, who came for the, therapeutic sea air. The young Prince George, not yet king, loved the town's lively vibe and rented what was basically a respectable farmhouse to hang out in.
Of course, a simple farmhouse was never going to cut it for a prince for long. So in 1787, he brings in an architect, Henry Holland, to give it a major upgrade. And this was the result, the Marine Pavilion. It's elegant, it's neoclassical, very stylish for the time. A really lovely building, you know? But it's absolutely nothing compared to the spectacle that was about to unfold.
Right, so that modest little villa, that was just the warm-up act. As the prince's power and influence grew, so did his vision for his seaside home. He was about to launch a complete reinvention, creating an architectural fantasy that would pretty much stun everybody.
This timeline really lays out the evolution perfectly. You can see Holland's nice, classical villa to start. But then, look at 1803. Something really surprising happens with the stables, long before the famous architect John Nash even enters the picture to create the palace we know today.
And here's the crazy part. This incredible building, it isn't the palace, it's the stables. Between 1803 and 1808, this magnificent structure was built for 60 of the prince's horses. I mean, it was so grand and so huge in this Indian-inspired style that it completely dwarfed the main house and basically set the tone for everything that came next.
So when the big-name architect John Nash was finally hired in 1815, he had a bit of a problem. He had to design a palace that could actually compete with how spectacular the stables already were. So he leaned right into it, adopting what's called the Indo-Saracenic style to create an exterior that was even more breathtaking.
But just when you think you've got it figured out, here's the twist. While the outside of the palace was inspired by India, the inside was pure, over-the-top China. Nash and his team created what they called a palace of color and sensation. The interiors are this incredible explosion of Chinoiserie. You've got massive dragons slithering down chandeliers, walls covered in vibrant painted scenes. It's just wild. Each room was designed to create a different feeling, an unforgettable experience for the prince's guests.
So, after George IV's death, the pavilion's future was suddenly very shaky. I mean, this place was the ultimate expression of one man's personality. What on earth was going to happen to it now that he was gone?
Well, enter his niece, Queen Victoria. And as you can probably tell from her own journal entry, she was not a fan. To be honest, she found it too small for her big family, and crucially, there was zero privacy from the growing crowds in Brighton. It just wasn't her vibe at all.
So in 1850, Queen Victoria did something pretty radical. She sold the entire estate to the town of Brighton for £53,000. And this moment right here is pivotal. It's when the pavilion stops being a private royal escape and starts its new life as a public treasure, really becoming the heart of its community.
Now, before the sale, the palace was stripped bare. I mean, furniture, fittings, you name it, everything was packed up and shipped off to other royal homes like Buckingham Palace. But here's the happy turn in the story. Over the decades, Queen Victoria and other royals started sending many of the original pieces back, kicking off this massive restoration project that honestly is still going on today.
But the pavilion story was about to take another totally unexpected turn. In the 20th century, this palace that was built purely for pleasure would become a place of incredible healing and recovery.
When the First World War broke out, the pavilion was completely transformed into a military hospital. This monument to royal fun and games was suddenly serving a purpose that its creators could have never, ever imagined.
And in a really poignant twist, given its architecture, between December 1914 and January 1916, the hospital was dedicated specifically to treating sick and wounded soldiers from the Indian Army. Over 2,300 men were cared for right here.
The whole transformation must have been absolutely surreal. Opulent rooms, like the Banqueting Room, suddenly became hospital wards filled with beds. The Great Kitchen was turned into an operating theater. It's just an extraordinary chapter in the building's history, a place of healing in the middle of a devastating global war.
And this powerful quote comes from a letter written by Mir Dandalis, a recipient of the Victoria Cross, who was treated right here in the pavilion. His words are just such a stark human reminder of the brutal reality of war that was playing out underneath the palace's fantasy ceilings.
So after all of that, after royalty, neglect, and war, what is the pavilion's role now? Well, today it's more central to Brighton's identity than ever before.
And don't think for a second that this is just some dusty old museum. It's a living, breathing part of the city. Right now there's a huge project called the Great Garden Revival to restore the grounds to their original design. And this isn't just for historical accuracy. It's not making a more beautiful, accessible, and safe public space for everyone to enjoy. And if you need any proof of just how important it is today, just look at the visitor data. When people come to Brighton, visiting an attraction is high on the list. And the pavilion is the second most popular one. It's a massive part of the city's tourism, and it's an absolute must-see, the centerpiece of the whole Brighton experience.
So in the end, the Royal Pavilion is so much more than its fantastical domes and gilded rooms. It started as one man's wild fantasy. It became a royal headache, it transformed into a place of wartime healing, and now it stands as the civic heart of its city. Its journey really tells the story of Brighton itself, a story of creativity, resilience, and constant reinvention. It proves that a building can absolutely embody the spirit of a place.